Hey everybody, welcome to Brief Brain Bites. Today we have a different kind of video. We will be going over the Trump administration's accomplishments according to the White House website as of 2021. This is the first in a series where we'll cover the accomplishments of past presidents in counter-chronological order. Since Joe Biden is currently president, he won't be included in this series. So grab some popcorn or your favorite snack, maybe even a doobie, if that's your thing, and let's jump in. Before the China virus invaded our shores, we built the world's most prosperous economy. America gained 7 million new jobs, more than 3 times government experts' projections. Middle-class family income increased nearly $6,000, more than 5 times the gains during the entire previous administration. The unemployment rate reached 3.5%, the lowest in a half-century. Achieved 40 months in a row with more job openings than job hirings. More Americans reported being employed than ever before, nearly 160 million. Jobless claims hit a nearly 50-year low. The number of people claiming unemployment insurance as a share of the population hit its lowest on record. Incomes rose in every single metro area in the United States for the first time in nearly 3 decades. Delivered a future of greater promise and opportunity for citizens of all backgrounds. Unemployment rates for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, Native Americans, veterans, individuals with disabilities, and those without a high school diploma all reached record lows. Unemployment for women hit its lowest rate in nearly 70 years, lifted nearly 7 million people off of food stamps. Poverty rates for African Americans and Hispanic Americans reached record lows. Income inequality fell for 2 straight years, and by the largest amount in over a decade. The bottom 50% of American households saw a 40% increase in net worth. Wages rose fastest for low-income and blue-collar workers, a 16% pay increase. African American homeownership increased from 41.7% to 46.4%. Brought jobs, factories, and industries back to the USA. Created more than 1.2 million manufacturing and construction jobs. Put in place policies to bring back supply chains from overseas. Small business optimism broke a 35-year-old record in 2018. Hit record stock market numbers and record 401ks. The Dow closed above 20,000 for the first time in 2017 and topped 30,000 in 2020. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ have repeatedly notched record highs. Rebuilding and investing in rural America. Signed an executive order on modernizing the regulatory framework for agricultural biotechnology products, which is bringing innovative new technologies to market in American farming and agriculture. Strengthened America's rural economy by investing over $1.3 billion through the Agriculture Department's Reconnect program to bring high-speed broadband infrastructure to rural America. Achieved a record-setting economic comeback by rejecting blanket lockdowns. In October 2020, Gallup survey found 56% of Americans said they were better off during a pandemic than 4 years prior. During the third quarter of 2020, the economy grew at a rate of 33.1%, the most rapid GDP growth ever recorded. Since coronavirus lockdowns ended, the economy has added back over 12 million jobs, more than half the jobs lost. Jobs have been recovered 23 times faster than the previous administration's recovery. Unemployment fell to 6.7% in December, from a pandemic peak of 14.7% in April, beating expectations of well over 10% unemployment through the end of 2020. Under the previous administration, it took 49 months for the unemployment rate to fall from 10% to under 7% compared to just 3 months for the Trump administration. Since April, the Hispanic unemployment rate has fallen by 9.6%, Asian American unemployment by 8.6%, and Black American unemployment by 6.8%. 80% of small businesses are now open, up from just 53% in April. Small business confidence hit a new high. Home builder confidence reached an all-time high. And home sales hit their highest reading since December 2006. Manufacturing optimism nearly doubled. Household net worth rose $7.4 trillion in Q2 2020 to $112 trillion, an all-time high. Home prices hit an all-time record high. The United States rejected crippling lockdowns that crushed the economy and inflict countless public health harms, and instead safely reopened its economy. Business confidence is higher in America than in any other G7 or European Union country. Stabilize America's financial markets with the establishment of a number of Treasury Department-supported facilities at the Federal Reserve. Tax relief for the middle class passed $3.2 trillion in historic tax relief, and reformed the tax code. Signed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the largest tax reform package in history. More than 6 million American workers received wage increases, bonuses, and increased benefits thanks to the tax cuts. A typical family of four earning $75,000 received an income tax cut of more than $2,000, slashing their tax bill in half. Doubled the standard deduction, making the first $24,000 earned by a married couple completely tax-free. Doubled the child tax credit. Virtually eliminated the unfair estate tax, or death tax. Cut the business tax rate from 35%, the highest in the developed world, all the way down to 21%. Small businesses can now deduct 20% of their business income. Businesses can now deduct 100% of the cost of their capital investments in the year the investment is made. Since the passage of tax cuts, the share of total wealth held by the bottom half of households has increased, while the share held by the top 1% has decreased. Over 400 companies have announced bonuses, wage increases, new hires, or new investments in the United States. Over $1.5 trillion was repatriated into the United States from overseas. Lower investment costs and higher capital returns led to faster growth in the middle class, real wages, and international competitiveness. Jobs and investments are pouring into opportunity zones. Created nearly 9,000 opportunity zones, where capital gains on long-term investments are taxed at zero. Opportunity zone designations have increased property values within them by 1.1%, creating an estimated $11 billion in wealth for the nearly half of Opportunity Zone residents who own their own home. Opportunity zones have attracted $75 billion in funds and driven $52 billion of new investment in economically distressed communities, creating at least 500,000 new jobs. Approximately 1 million Americans will be lifted from poverty as a result of these new investments. Private equity investments into businesses in opportunity zones were nearly 30% higher than investments into businesses in similar areas that were not designated opportunity zones. Massive deregulation ended the regulatory assault on American businesses and workers. Instead of 2 for 1, we eliminated 8 old regulations for every one new regulation adopted, provided the average American household an extra $3,100 every year, reduced the direct cost of regulatory compliance by $50 billion, and will reduce costs by an additional $50 billion in FY 2020 alone. Removed nearly 25,000 pages from the Federal Register, more than any other president. The previous administration added over 16,000 pages. Established the Governor's Initiative on Regulatory Innovation to reduce outdated regulations at the state, local, and tribal levels. Signed an executive order to make it easier for businesses to offer retirement plans. Signed 2 executive orders to increase transparency in federal agencies and protect Americans and their small businesses from administrative abuse. Modernized the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, for the first time in over 40 years. Reduced approval times for major infrastructure projects from 10 or more years down to 2 years or less. Helped community banks by signing legislation that rolled back costly provisions of Dodd-Frank. Established the White House Council on eliminating regulatory barriers to affordable housing to bring down housing costs, removed regulations that threatened the development of a strong and stable internet, eased and simplified restrictions on rocket launches, helping to spur commercial investment in space projects, published a whole-of-government strategy focused on ensuring American leadership in automated vehicle technology, streamlined energy efficiency regulations for American families and businesses, including preserving affordable light bulbs, enhancing the utility of showerheads, and enabling greater time savings with dishwashers, removed unnecessary regulations that restrict the seafood industry and impede job creation, modernized the Department of Agriculture's biotechnology regulations to put America in the lead to develop new technologies, took action to suspend regulations that would have slowed our response to COVID-19, including lifting restrictions on manufacturers to more quickly produce ventilators, successfully rolled back burdensome regulatory overreach, rescinded the previous administration's affirmatively furthering fair housing AFFH rule, which would have abolished zoning for single-family housing to build low-income, federally subsidized apartments, issued a final rule on the Fair Housing Act's disparate impact standard, eliminated the Waters of the United States rule, and replaced it with the Navigable Waters Protection Rule, providing relief and certainty for farmers and property owners, repealed the previous administration's costly fuel economy regulations by finalizing the Safer, Affordable, Fuel-Efficient, SAFE Vehicles rule, which will make cars more affordable and lower the price of new vehicles by an estimated $2,200. Americans now have more money in their pockets. Deregulation had an especially beneficial impact on low-income Americans who pay a much higher share of their incomes for overregulation. Cut red tape in the healthcare industry, providing Americans with more affordable healthcare and saving Americans nearly 10% on prescription drugs. Deregulatory efforts yielded savings to the medical community, an estimated $6.6 billion, with a reduction of 42 million hours of regulatory compliance work through 2021, removed government barriers to personal freedom and consumer choice in healthcare. Once fully in effect, 20 major deregulatory actions undertaken by the Trump administration are expected to save American consumers and businesses over $220 billion per year. Signed 16 pieces of deregulatory legislation that will result in a $40 billion increase in annual real incomes. That's all for today's dive into the Trump administration's accomplishments. I hope you found it informative and interesting. Make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the bell so that you don't miss part 2, where we'll continue exploring President Trump's achievements. Catch you in the next one. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay awesome.